Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it is your first time here. Today's video is going to be a reading retreat vlog. James and I are heading off to the northeast of England. We're going to go and stay in a shepherd's hut and close the doors and do nothing but chill out and read. Hopefully. The weather forecast is said to be nothing but torrential rain, which will lend itself very well to a cozy weekend of reading. I think the kids are going to their grandparents, the dog's going to the dog sitters. I have packed far too many books, but I wanted to just do a very quick intro to say this is what we're doing and to introduce the book that I am currently reading, because I am honestly low-key obsessed with this book already. I really think it's going to be a 5-star read. I broke several rules in order to pick up this book. Number one, it's the first in a trilogy, and I have said countless times that I'm not starting any new series until I finish the series that I'm currently in the middle of. And number two, it was a new purchase, so I'm essentially buying and reading a book straight away and ignoring the hundreds of other books that I have on my TBR already. But it is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. So this is historical fiction. It's set in a brothel in Pompeii, and honestly I'm loving it so much. I'm not very far in, I'm only just over 80 pages in, but it is ticking so many of my boxes already, from the setting and the description to our main character Amara, who is just shaping up to be a kick-ass strong female character. The writing style, the dialogue, just pretty much everything is on point at the moment. I'm very excited to carry on with reading this. So this is the book that I'm going to start with. As I say, I have packed 5 other books. That's the dog's barking because James is outside packing the car. 5 other books. There's no way I'm going to read all of those, but I like to have choice. I feel like if I love this book as much as I think I'm going to love it, I'll end up with a slight book hangover and I won't know what I want to pick up next. So I'm bringing options. But yes, this is just to say, do come along. We can't check in until this afternoon, so we're actually heading up to have a wander around Durham to start with, and then we will go to our shepherd's hut, close the doors, do some reading, chill out and see how we get on. the more I read this book, the more I am utterly convinced that it is going to be a 5-star read. It's just so good. I am just over halfway through, and honestly, the more I read it, the more I just love it. It is obviously not the nicest content to read about. We're reading about a group of women who are all working as slaves in a brothel in Pompeii, but just the rich historical detail, the way that Elodie Harper has captured the friendship between these women, the setting, there's an undercurrent of hope that runs through it. So even though they are in the most dire of circumstances, they're not treated well, they essentially have no hope of ever paying their way out of slavery, and some of them have been slaves their whole lives, and some of them have been sold into slavery. So our main character in particular, Amara, was a doctor's daughter until her family fell into poverty, and then she was sold first to be a concubine and then sold to be a whore in the brothel. And so their life situations are so horrendous and so dire, but there are these little nuggets of ordinariness but hopefulness as well from the women, and it's just, oh, it is just very good. I can't imagine anything happening to make me think that it's not going to be a 5-star read, because it's not really about the plot. We're not really building to anything. We're just following these women in their lives in this brothel in Pompeii. But honestly, I am just loving it so much. Today is Saturday. We are not going to do much other than hang out in the shepherd's hut and read, so I'm pretty confident that I will get this finished today. We went to Durham yesterday, had a wander around, that was really nice, and then we came to our shepherd's hut and we just chilled, and then we've got an 11 o'clock checkout tomorrow, so maybe do a little bit of reading in the morning, but essentially we're just going to hang out here. The weather is not great, perfect for staying in and reading, not so much for heading out, so whether we go out for some fresh air or not, I don't know. But yeah, now I'm going to do some reading. I know I must sound like a broken record, but I'm really enjoying this. I've got about 80 pages left, and obviously it's the first one in a trilogy, so I'm not imagining that everything is going to be wrapped up at the end of this book, although I don't know if the later books follow the same characters. But anyway, I am just enjoying it an awful lot. Not so much the subject matter, which is obviously incredibly sad and at times very difficult to read, but just the writing style and the characters. I think I mentioned in the first clip that our main character, Amara in particular, is just incredibly badass, and she refuses to allow her spirit to be broken, and she continues to imagine something more for her life, and that really comes across, and I'm just appreciating that an awful lot. James is trying to distract me over there, he's watching the football. But yeah, just I think as well, you kind of have this, we obviously have the knowledge of what happened to Pompeii and the very sad ending that came to the city, and that is kind of sitting at a juxtaposition with the gaudiness of the wealthy clients that these girls are forced to entertain, and the kind of lavish and over-the-top way that they all live and their lifestyles, obviously then set against the fact that we know that Pompeii is basically obliterated. So yeah, there's also that kind of mixed in as well, but just the writing style, the characters, the history, it's all just done so well, and yeah, hopefully I'll get it finished within the next hour or so. So I finished it, and it's 5 stars, exactly as I predicted that it might be. May need to just sit for a little while and try to coherently gather my thoughts before I talk too much about it, but I really enjoyed it. It is brutal and it is unflinching in the way that it looks at some of the physical and emotional violence that the women at the brothel experience. It doesn't shy away from that at all. But as I said before, there's also this current of hope, and you have these strong female friendships, and it looks at resilience and strength and what that means. And it's just so flipping good. I really enjoyed it. I'm a little bit heartbroken by the way that it ended, but honestly, so good. And one of the things that is interesting is in The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker, one of my main criticisms was about the modern style of the dialogue between our characters, and I really didn't buy it and I really didn't like it. This is actually told in quite a modern way, the way that the characters relate to one another, even just in the telling of it, is quite modern, but it just works. And I really enjoyed it, and I really engaged and bought into the writing style and the story and the plot and the characters. There was just a lot to enjoy and appreciate in this book, as I say, despite the fact that the actual subject matter is not very pleasant. I liked Amara, I liked how complex she was as a character and her conflicting feelings for the brothel owner, Felix, and how complicated that was in terms of how much she hated him, but also how much she owed to him as well. I liked that all of the women really had their own complicated and complex characters and stories, and we got to uncover a little bit more of each of them as the plot and the story progresses. I think I said earlier that not that much happens in terms of plot. It's much more about the characters, it's much more about the experience of these women, and I was just absolutely here for it. I thought it was fantastic. As I say, 5 stars. Could not recommend it highly enough now, despite the fact that it is torrential rain. We are going to go outside and brave a walk to try and get some fresh air, and then when we get back I will have to pick something else to read, I think. But yeah, absolutely love this. Cannot recommend it enough. Thought it was great. Really excited now to pick up the next one and see where the story is going to go and how it's going to progress. Loved it. Quite a bit later now, it's just coming up to 7 o'clock. We ended up being out for 2 hours on our walk in the torrential rain, so not ideal, but it was nice to just be out in the fresh air. And we walked to Blanchland, which is meant to be one of the most picturesque and prettiest villages in the northeast. So yeah, but it was pretty wet and miserable, and I fell over 3 times, so not the best show. Anyway, James has gone out because we're meant to be having steak this evening, and he forgot one of the key elements, but it's a 40-minute round trip to the nearest shop, so that's not ideal either. But it does mean that I'm just chilling out here. I've got the heating on, I've got a glass of wine, and I have picked up The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This is a murder mystery told in quite a unique format. It's told through texts and emails and letters, and we basically have 2 young solicitors who are looking through this pack of evidence. I know from the back that someone gets arrested for murder, and the 2 solicitors are looking to prove that that person wasn't actually responsible, but we don't know that officially yet. It's quite interesting. It's quite easy to read and quite quick to read. I'm 60 pages in already because of the way that it's told, but I'm finding it quite tricky to keep a hold of the different threads. A lot of the characters, so it takes place in this remote village and you have an amateur dramatic society, which is kind of the central point of how all these characters know each other. But a lot of them are married or related, or there is some kind of other connection, and I'm finding it a little bit difficult to keep hold of all the threads and know who is connected to who, especially when they just refer to them by their first name. But I am enjoying it. I think it's going to be, as I say, quite a quick read. If you've watched a couple of my other videos, you'll know that this was recommended to me by a salesperson in Waterstones who said it was brilliant, and it was their book of the month last month or the month before. So yeah, very much looking forward to getting into it a little bit more, and hopefully as it progresses I'll manage to keep track of who is who and how they are all connected. Oh, just hit myself in the face. How they're all connected to one another. But as I say, not much to do now until James gets back, so I'm just gonna drink my wine, read my book and chill out. Reading update before we set off this morning. So, sort my hair out, Jess. So I am reading The Appeal, as I mentioned yesterday, and I am thoroughly enjoying this book. It is incredibly entertaining and exactly as I thought, a very quick read. I am easily over 3/4 of the way through, partly because of the format of it, it's just very readable, and partly because I just really want to know what is happening. So I'm a little bit wary about saying too much and accidentally spoiling it for someone. I do feel like this is the type of book that it is better to go into as blind as possible so that you can just enjoy it as it unfolds. But I will say a little bit about it just to really sell it, because thoroughly enjoying it. So I think yesterday I said that it was two solicitors re-looking at evidence in a murder case. That's actually not quite right. It's actually two law students, and the only reason that you know that is because it tells you on the back. You don't get much from the law students apart from the odd text exchange between them. It's more about the actual story, and actually the person who gets murdered doesn't happen until the middle of the book, and by that point you've got to know all your characters. So it is a little bit of a gasp moment, and then I'm now going back thinking about the correspondence between our characters and who knew what and how they knew. It's very much like a modern Agatha Christie in that lots of our characters have potential motive. There are characters coming in from some of the other characters' pasts, and it's all kind of intertwined together, and picking apart the threads and seeing who could be responsible is actually a whole lot of fun, and definitely an element that I am enjoying. So the basic premise is that we have this small village, and within this village there is an amateur dramatic society, and the build up to their latest play forms a huge backdrop for the story. As well as that, there is a family in the community whose 2-year-old daughter gets diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, and they want to privately fund some treatment from the US, which is going to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. And so they set up a fundraising page, like a GoFundMe type page, and everyone, including the people in this amateur dramatic society, become involved because it's a member of their community, etc, etc. But there's just lots of little pockets of things that are going on. So the granddad of this little girl is the director of the play, and it seems like he's having some financial trouble. He's doing a lot of the negotiating with the doctor for the treatment, and it just seems like maybe he's using the money for other things and he's not being very honest. The doctor seems to have something else going on. Essentially every person within here has some kind of messy backstory, which could just be the fact that they are a messy person, because lives are messy. How many times can I say the word messy? Lives are chaotic, but equally it could be motive for the bigger thing that is going on. So yeah, really enjoying it. Hopefully although we're leaving now, I hope that I will be able to get this finished today, but I would highly recommend it, even if it ends in a terrible way. I have just absolutely enjoyed the ride, and now the sun has decided to come out, so gonna set off, need to pack up, need to do a little bit of cleaning in the shepherd's hut. Have really enjoyed it. I will leave a link to the Airbnb down below because it has been an absolutely stunning stay. Have loved it. Now we need to pack up. Good morning. It is Monday morning, which technically should be the end of the reading vlog, but I finished the appeal last night, so I just wanted to come on and kind of round the whole reading vlog up. Very much enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars, incredibly entertaining. Don't really have much to add beyond what I've already said because, again, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I would highly recommend it. If you like cozy mystery whodunit style books, then I think that you would very much enjoy this, and it's a very quick read because of the format that it is told in as well. And I very much enjoyed the element that everybody had a motive and anybody could really have done it. I did kind of work out what was going on before the big reveal, but it was still extremely enjoyable, and obviously all the other motives ended up having a perfectly logical explanation, and it is all just tied up very neatly. So yes, very much enjoyed it, and that is pretty much it. I know it looks like I'm wearing the same jumper that I had on yesterday. It is a different jumper, honestly. I am all about the autumn knits, but I realised that it looks like I'm basically wearing the same clothes in every clip that I film. But yeah, already don't need much of an excuse to bring out the knits and the boots, honestly. Totally here for the autumn. Anyway, that is an entirely different thread of conversation. So yeah, just to say that I had a very successful reading weekend. Highly recommend this, 5 stars. Highly recommend this, 4.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Darcy is now coming to join us, so it's all going to begin to be noisy and unravel. I don't know if you can hear it in the background with her toy. So yeah, just to say that I hope that you enjoyed this cozy reading vlog. Definitely recommend picking up either of these books. I had a wonderful, relaxing weekend, but now, unfortunately, I have to go back to work. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that you are all keeping safe and well. Take care, and I will see you all soon.